The pain had finally stopped. I was lying in the hospital bed, holding my baby girl for the first time. Her tiny fingers wrapped around mine, and I felt tears sliding down my cheeks. The emergency C-section had been terrifying, but she was here. She was perfect. She had Eric's nose and my eyes. I kept glancing at the door, waiting for Eric to come back. He'd stepped out an hour ago to make a call. The nurse smiled at me, asking if I wanted her to find him. Before I could answer, the door opened. Eric walked in, his face blank. No smile. No excitement. He didn't even look at our daughter. Instead, he reached into his bag and pulled out a folder. My heart sank. "What's that?" I whispered. He dropped it on the bed beside me. "Divorce papers," he said flatly. "I don't love you anymore, Layla." Then he turned and walked out. I sat there, frozen, holding my newborn while tears blurred my vision. The nurse rushed over, asking if I was okay. I couldn't speak. I just stared at the door he'd disappeared through, wondering how the man I married could abandon me in my most vulnerable moment. My daughter made a small sound, and I pulled her closer, my entire body shaking. 2 days later, they discharged me early. Eric never came back. Not to see me. Not to meet his daughter. Not to explain anything. I called him 17 times. No answer. I texted him, begging him to explain. Nothing. My mom wanted to fly in, but I told her I was fine. I wasn't fine. Could barely stand. The C-section scar throbbed with every step. I packed my hospital bag with one hand while cradling my baby with the other. A nurse helped me to the car. My car, because Eric had taken his. Driving home felt surreal. The baby cried in the back seat, and I cried in the front. Every red light felt like torture. When I opened the door to our house, it felt cold. Different somehow. Eric's shoes were gone from the hallway. His jacket missing from the hook. I walked into the bedroom and saw that half the closet was cleared out. He'd packed while I was in labor. While I was fighting for my life and our daughters. I sat on the bed, staring at the divorce papers still in my bag. My daughter whimpered, and I forced myself to stand. I had no choice. I had to survive this, even though I didn't know how. Even though every part of me wanted to collapse. A week passed in a blur of sleepless nights and endless crying, both hers and mine. I was changing her diaper when I noticed Eric's jacket still hanging in the hallway closet. I checked the pockets, hoping for answers. Maybe a note. Maybe something that explained why. Instead, I found a receipt. A jewelry store. A custom necklace. $800. The inscription read, "Forever M." My stomach twisted. Who was M? I grabbed my phone and searched the receipt's date. Then I went through Eric's Instagram followers, his Facebook friends, his LinkedIn connections. That's when I saw her. Megan. 23 years old. His assistant. Her profile was full of photos. Beach trips, fancy dinners, selfies in luxury hotel rooms. And in the background of one photo I saw him. Eric. My husband. Smiling wider than he'd smiled at me in months. My hands shook as I scrolled. The affair wasn't just recent. It had been going on for at least 6 months. Maybe longer. I sat on the floor, my daughter asleep beside me, and I felt something shift inside me. The heartbreak was still there, but so was something else. Anger. Cold, quiet anger. The kind that doesn't explode but burns steady. The kind that plans and waits and remembers everything. I didn't confront him. Not yet. Instead, I started taking screenshots. Every photo. Every tagged location. Every comment Megan left on his posts. I went through our bank statements and found charges I'd never noticed before. Hotels, restaurants, gifts. All during times Eric claimed he was working late. I opened a new email account and forwarded everything to myself. Then I started a folder on my laptop. Evidence. I didn't know what I was planning yet, but I knew I needed proof. Documentation. A trail of truth. My daughter watched me from her bassinet. Her big eyes curious. "We're going to be okay," I whispered to her. But I wasn't sure I believed it. Eric still hadn't called. hadn't texted. It was like we didn't exist anymore. But I existed. And I wasn't going to be the broken ex-wife everyone pitied. I was going to be the one who fought back. Quietly, carefully, strategically. I saved every receipt, every message, every piece of evidence I could find. I organized it by date, by category, by relevance. And I waited. Patience became my weapon. Silence became my strategy. I wouldn't give him the satisfaction of seeing me fall apart. 2 weeks after the hospital, I finally looked at our finances. What I found made me sick. Our joint savings account, the one we'd been building for years, was almost empty. Eric had withdrawn nearly everything. $15,000 gone. Just vanished into his new life. I checked my credit card next. Maxed out. Charges I didn't recognize. Luxury purchases. Weekend trips. All for him and her. Then I found something worse. Loan applications. My name. He'd forged my signature on 3 different loans, totaling over $20,000. My credit score had tanked. I sat at the kitchen table, shaking. He hadn't just left me. He'd destroyed me financially. Sabotaged my future. Stolen my identity. I called the bank, my voice trembling. They told me I'd need to file a fraud report and hire a lawyer. How am I supposed to afford a lawyer? I wanted to scream. Instead, I thanked them and hung up. I looked at my daughter sleeping peacefully in her swing. She deserved better than this. Better than a father who stole from her mother. I pulled out my phone and started researching. Fraud. Financial abuse. Divorce law. I read until my eyes burned. If Eric thought I'd just roll over, he was wrong. Dead wrong. A month later, a man in a suit knocked on my door. "Layla Henderson?" he asked. I nodded, my heart already racing. He handed me an envelope. "You've been served." My heart pounded as I opened it. Eric's lawyer was demanding joint custody, no spousal support, and that I assume half of our marital debt, including the loans he'd taken out in my name. The audacity was stunning. I read it 3 times, my hands shaking with rage. He wanted to take my daughter half the time, pay me nothing, and leave me drowning in his debt. The man who hadn't even held her. Who hadn't asked about her first smile or her sleep schedule. Who'd abandoned us without explanation. The audacity was breathtaking. I called a free legal aid hotline and explained everything. The woman on the phone sighed. "You need a good lawyer," she said. "And you need to document everything." "I already am," I replied. She gave me a few names of attorneys who did payment plans. I called the first one, a woman named Patricia Mills. Her voice was sharp and confident. "Come see me tomorrow," she said. "Bring everything you have." I hung up and looked at my daughter. "We're fighting back," I whispered. And I meant it with every fiber of my being. I found out through a mutual friend. Megan had moved into Eric's new apartment. They weren't hiding anymore. They were posting photos together. Dinner dates, movie nights, cozy mornings with coffee. They looked like a couple who'd been together for years, not weeks. My friend sent me the screenshots, apologizing. "I thought you should know," she said. Her voice was gentle, careful. I stared at the photos. Eric looked happy. Happier than I'd seen him in years. Meanwhile, I was surviving on 3 hours of sleep, still healing from surgery, struggling to pay bills. And he was living his best life. The comments on his posts made me want to scream. "You two are so cute. Relationship goals. Finally seeing you smile again." Nobody knew he'd abandoned his wife and newborn daughter. Nobody knew he was a liar and a cheat. I saved the screenshots and added them to my folder. Then I did something I'd been avoiding. Posted on social media. Nothing dramatic. Just a photo of my daughter and a caption. "Navigating single motherhood after the hardest month of my life. Grateful for my real friends." Within an hour, I had over 100 comments. People asking what happened, offering support. And a few who knew Eric, quietly unfollowing him. The truth was starting to spread. Eric's custody filing was aggressive. He wanted our daughter every other week. His lawyer painted him as a devoted father who just grew apart from me. 'Twas a lie. Complete fabrication. He hadn't even met her. Hadn't asked about her. Hadn't sent a single dollar for diapers or formula. I met with Patricia, my new lawyer. She was in her 50s, sharp-eyed, and didn't sugarcoat anything. Her office was small but organized, filled with case files and law books. "He's doing this to control you," she said. "Not because he wants to be a father. This is a power play." "So what do I do?" Yes. She leaned forward. "We fight. We show the judge who he really is." I handed her my folder. Months of evidence. Text messages where he ignored me. Bank statements showing his theft. Photos of him with Megan days after I gave birth. Patricia's eyes widened as she flipped through it. "You've been busy," she said, a small smile forming. "This is good. Really good. Most clients come to me with nothing." For the first time in weeks, I felt a flicker of hope. Maybe I wasn't as powerless as I thought. Maybe I could win this. Maybe justice was possible after all. Eric's mother called me. I almost didn't answer. We'd been close once. She used to tell me I was the daughter she never had. We'd bake together, shop together, shared secrets. "Layla," she said when I picked up. "I just want you to know. Eric's been through a lot. You need to understand his perspective." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. His perspective. I repeated. "He abandoned me in the hospital. He stole my money. He's living with another woman. What perspective am I missing?" She sighed. "Marriage is hard, Layla. Maybe if you'd tried harder." I hung up. My hands were shaking. I checked her Facebook. She'd posted a photo of Eric and Megan together with a caption, "So happy to see my son smiling again." The comments were full of heart emojis. Nobody mentioned me. Nobody mentioned his daughter. Her granddaughter. Blocked her. Then I blocked Eric's entire family. I didn't need their toxicity. That night I posted a quote. "Some people will always choose sides, even when the truth is obvious." Got over 200 likes. People were starting to see through Eric's lies. And I was just getting started. The truth has a way of surfacing, no matter how deep people try to bury it. Patricia recommended a private investigator. "It's expensive," she warned, "but it'll be worth it. These things always are." I scraped together what I could and hired him. His name was Dave and he was blunt. A retired cop with tired eyes and a no-nonsense attitude. "Your husband's sloppy," he said after 1 week. "This won't take long." He was right. Within 2 weeks, Dave had everything. Photos of Eric and Megan at hotels. Records of his workplace affair violating company policy. Bank transactions showing he'd been supporting her lifestyle with our money. And something I hadn't expected. Evidence that Eric had lied on legal documents, including the loan applications in my name. "This is fraud," Dave said. "Criminal fraud. You could press charges if you wanted." Patricia reviewed everything and smiled. "He's done." We filed motions. We submitted evidence. We prepared for court. And I felt something I hadn't felt in months. Power. Real power. Not the kind that comes from money or status, but the kind that comes from truth. Eric had underestimated me. He thought I'd crumble. Instead, I'd built a case that could destroy him. And I wasn't backing down. Not now. Not ever. I decided to break my silence. Not with anger. Not with drama. Just truth. Simple, honest truth. I posted a simple message. Some people show their true colors after your most vulnerable moment. But you find out who you really are too. The response was overwhelming. Friends I hadn't talked to in years reached out. Strangers sent messages of support. Women shared their own stories of betrayal and survival. My post was shared over 1,000 times. People started connecting the dots. They saw Eric's photos with Megan. They saw my posts about single motherhood. They figured it out. And they were furious on my behalf. Eric called me for the first time in weeks. "Take that post down," he demanded. His voice was tight with anger. You're making me look bad. I almost laughed. I didn't mention you, I said calmly. I didn't use your name. If people figured it out, that's on you. He hung up, smiled. The silence was over. And the truth was spreading faster than he could control. Social media had become my ally. My voice. My platform for justice. And people were listening. Eric made a mistake. Big one. He called a friend one night, drunk, and left a rambling voicemail. The problem? He pocket-dialed me instead. I listened to the whole thing, my heart pounding. She'll break, he slurred. Layla can't survive without me. She's too soft, too weak. Give it a month, and she'll be begging me to come back. His friend laughed. They joked about how crazy I'd become. How I was overreacting to the divorce. How I'd probably end up broke and desperate. I saved the voicemail and sent it to Patricia immediately. She called me back within minutes. This is gold, she said. We're using this in court. This shows his character perfectly. I listened to it again, tears streaming down my face. Not because I was hurt, but because I realized he didn't know me at all. He thought I was weak. He thought I'd crumble. But he was wrong. So completely wrong. And I was about to prove it. This voicemail would become the evidence that exposed who he really was. His own words would condemn him. The first court hearing arrived. I wore a simple dress and kept my head high. Eric sat across the room with his lawyer, looking confident. Too confident. He thought he'd already won. Patricia stood and began. She presented bank statements, loan documents, screenshots, photos, evidence of Eric's affair, evidence of his financial fraud. And then she played the voicemail. The courtroom went silent. Eric's face turned red. His lawyer looked stunned, shuffling papers frantically. The judge listened carefully, her expression hardening with each passing second. When it was over, she looked directly at Eric. Mr. Henderson, I'm ordering a full investigation into your finances. And I'm granting a temporary restraining order to protect Ms. Henderson from further financial harm. Eric's lawyer tried to object, but the judge cut him off. We're done for today. I walked out of that courtroom with my head high. Patricia squeezed my shoulder. You just won round one, she said. Smiled. Felt good. Really good. For the first time since the hospital, I felt like I had control. Like I mattered. Like justice was possible. Megan was subpoenaed to testify. I wasn't there, but Patricia told me everything. Megan showed up in a designer outfit, trying to look confident. But when they asked her about the affair, about the company policy violations, about the gifts Eric bought her with stolen money, she fell apart. She cried. She claimed she didn't know he was married at first. She said Eric told her I was abusive, and they were separated. All lies. Complete fabrications. And the judge saw right through them. But the damage was done. Megan's testimony confirmed everything. The affair. Timeline. The lies. Patricia called me afterward. She buried him, she said. And herself. I felt a strange mix of emotions. Part of me pitied Megan. She was young and foolish. She'd believed Eric's lies just like I had once. But she'd also chosen to be with a married man. She'd helped destroy my family. I couldn't forgive that. Not yet. Maybe not ever. She'd made her choices, and now she was facing the consequences. Just like Eric would soon face his. 2 days later, Eric got fired. His company had a strict ethics policy. Workplace relationships were forbidden, especially between supervisors and assistants. When the court records went public, HR launched an investigation. They found emails, inappropriate messages, proof that Eric had used company resources for personal trips with Megan. He'd booked hotels on the company card, taken personal days to spend with her. He was terminated immediately. I found out through a former coworker who messaged me. I'm so sorry for what he put you through, she wrote. We all are. Nobody knew the truth until now. I didn't gloat. I didn't post about it. I just shared a simple quote. Karma has perfect timing. The likes poured in. People knew. And Eric's perfect new life was crumbling. Yes. Everything he'd built was collapsing. His job. His reputation. His relationship. And I was just watching it happen, knowing I'd helped expose the truth. Justice felt sweet. Quiet but sweet. The universe was balancing itself, and I was finally on the right side of that balance. Megan left him a week later. I heard about it from a neighbor who saw them fighting on his apartment lawn. She was screaming. He was begging. She threw a box of his things at him and drove off in her car. My neighbor texted me. Thought you'd want to know. Looks like trouble in paradise. I stared at the message. Part of me felt vindicated. But mostly I just felt tired. Exhausted from all the drama. Eric had destroyed everything for her. And now she was gone too. He'd lost his job. Lost his mistress. And he was about to lose a lot more. Focused on my daughter. She was smiling now, cooing, reaching for toys. She'd started sleeping through the night. She didn't know the chaos around her. And I wanted to keep it that way. I was building a new life. Better one. Without him. A life built on truth and strength. Not lies and convenience. My daughter would grow up knowing her mother fought for her. That mattered more than anything Eric could take from us. I needed income. Yes. I'd been surviving on savings and help from friends. But it wasn't enough. So I started something new. I launched an online consulting business. Helping moms with marketing and social media. I used my own story, my own struggle to connect with clients. My first post got over 500 shares. Women reached out asking for help with their small businesses. I started taking clients. 1 became 5. 5 became 20. Within 2 months, I was making more than I ever had at my old job. I worked during naps, late at night, early in the morning. It was exhausting. But it was mine. My creation. My success. I posted about my journey. Balancing motherhood and entrepreneurship. My following grew. People loved the authenticity. The rawness. I wasn't pretending to have it all together. I was just surviving. And people respected that. They saw themselves in my struggle. They wanted to support someone real. Someone fighting. Someone refusing to give up despite everything life threw at her. My business became my salvation. Eric showed up at my house one night, drunk and angry. He pounded on the door, shouting my name. I grabbed my phone and called the police immediately. My ex-husband is outside my house, I said, my voice shaking. He's intoxicated and won't leave. I have a baby inside. They arrived within minutes. Eric was still yelling when they pulled up. They made him leave and told me to file a restraining order. I did. The next day, I also froze our joint accounts and cleared my name from the fraudulent loans. Patricia helped me file all the paperwork. You're taking control, she said. That's what matters. You're not a victim anymore. Felt it. For the first time since the hospital, I felt like I was winning. Not just in court, but in life. I was rebuilding, reclaiming, taking back everything he'd tried to steal from me. My peace, my security, my future. The restraining order meant he couldn't come near me or my daughter. That protection felt like armor. Like I could finally breathe without looking over my shoulder. The custody hearing was brutal. Eric's lawyer tried to paint me as unstable. They mentioned my social media posts, my sudden business, my lack of family support. But Patricia was ready. She presented the voicemail. The texts showing Eric's neglect. Character witnesses, friends, neighbors, even my daughter's pediatrician, testified that I was a loving, capable mother. Then Patricia called a therapist I'd been seeing. She explained how Eric's abandonment had affected me, but also how hard I'd worked to stay strong for my daughter. The judge listened carefully. When it was over, she made her ruling. Full custody is granted to Ms. Henderson. Mr. Henderson will have supervised visitation once he completes a parenting course and remains financially stable. I almost cried. Patricia squeezed my hand. You did it, she whispered. I looked at Eric. He looked broken. Me. Defeated. And I felt nothing. Just relief. Pure, overwhelming relief. My daughter was safe. She was mine. And he couldn't take her from me. That was all that mattered. Eric had a breakdown. And he posted it online. A long, rambling TikTok video where he blamed me for ruining his life. He claimed I'd manipulated the court, lied about him, turned people against him. The video went viral, but not the way he expected. Thousands of people flooded the comments defending me. You abandoned your wife after she gave birth. You're disgusting. Accountability isn't the same as being attacked. Karma came for you, bro. People found my profile, my story, and they supported me. My followers tripled overnight. News outlets picked it up. Man's post-divorce meltdown backfires as the truth emerges. Eric deleted the video. But it was too late. Screenshots were everywhere. The internet never forgets. And the world knew exactly who he was. His public meltdown had become his final humiliation. He tried to control the narrative one last time, and it had exploded in his face. Justice had gone viral. Parenting Podcast reached out to me. They wanted to interview me anonymously about surviving betrayal and single motherhood. I agreed. The episode went live 2 weeks later. I talked about the hospital, the divorce papers, the financial abuse, rebuilding my life from scratch. The response was massive. Thousands of downloads. Women messaged me sharing their own stories. I realized I wasn't just surviving anymore. I was inspiring others. And that felt powerful. I started a blog, shared tips for single moms, talked about healing legal battles, building businesses. My platform grew. And with it, my confidence. I wasn't just Layla, the abandoned wife. I was Layla, the survivor, the fighter. The woman who refused to break. I turned my pain into purpose, my struggle into strength, and I was helping others do the same. That podcast episode became one of their most downloaded ever. My story was resonating with thousands of women who needed to know they weren't alone. A letter arrived from Eric's parents. I almost threw it away. But curiosity won. Inside was a handwritten apology. They said they'd been manipulated by Eric, that they were sorry for not supporting me. They wanted to meet their granddaughter. I read it twice. Part of me wanted to forgive them, but another part remembered how they'd chosen him, how they'd blamed me, how they'd celebrated Megan on social media while ignoring their own granddaughter. I sent a polite reply. Thank you for reaching out. I'm not ready yet, but I appreciate the apology. I didn't owe them more than that. Maybe one day I'd let them back in. But not now. Not when I was finally finding peace. They'd chosen their side when it mattered most. Forgiveness would take time. Maybe years. Maybe never. My daughter would know them only if and when I decided she was ready. That decision was mine to make now. The final court date arrived. Eric was ordered to repay the fraudulent loans, pay child support, to cover my legal fees. The judge didn't hold back. Mr. Henderson, your actions were reckless and cruel. You will be held accountable. Eric stared at the floor. His lawyer said nothing. There was nothing left to say. I walked out of that courtroom feeling lighter than I had in months. Patricia hugged me. You won, she said. Completely. I looked at the sky, tears streaming down my face. Not sad tears. Happy ones. I'd fought. I'd survived. And I'd won. The system had worked. Justice had prevailed. Everything Eric tried to steal from me. My money, my dignity, my daughter, I'd gotten back. The court had seen the truth. They'd believed me. And Eric would spend years paying for what he'd done. Literally and figuratively. I felt vindicated. Validated. Free. The weight I'd been carrying for months finally lifted. 1 year later, I hosted my daughter's first birthday party. My small apartment was filled with friends, laughter, and love. My business was thriving. I'd saved enough to put a down payment on a condo. My daughter toddled around, smiling at everyone. I watched her, my heart full. This life, this beautiful, chaotic, hard-earned life, was ours. Eric wasn't there. He'd seen her twice in supervised visits, but he rarely showed up. He'd moved to another city, trying to escape his reputation. I didn't care anymore. He was irrelevant, a footnote in our story. I took a photo of my daughter smashing her cake and posted it. 1 year ago, my world fell apart. Today, it's better than I ever imagined. The comments flooded in. Hundreds of people celebrating with us. My business clients, podcast listeners, women I'd never met who'd followed my journey. I'd built a community, support system, a life I was proud of. And my daughter would grow up knowing her mother never gave up. Late that night, after everyone left, my phone buzzed. A message from Eric. I made a mistake. Can we talk? I miss you. I stared at it for a long moment. A year ago, that message would have destroyed me. Now, felt nothing. Not anger. Not sadness. Just indifference. I deleted it without responding. I walked into my daughter's room and watched her sleep, her tiny chest rising and falling peacefully. We're finally free, I whispered, kissing her forehead. And we were. Free from his lies, his manipulation, his control. I'd rebuilt my life from nothing. And I'd done it on my own terms. Eric thought I was weak, but he was wrong. I was stronger than I'd ever been. And I wasn't looking back. Not to him. Not to that pain. Only forward. To the life I'd built. The business I'd created. The daughter I was raising. The woman I'd become. This was my story. My victory. And nobody could take that away from me.